Diddy's home was raided. I'm sorry, let me just say that one more time. P Diddy's home was raided. Actually, technically, 2 of his homes were raided. Now, this is definitely not on my 2024 bingo card, and I'm sure it wasn't on yours. So let's put our heads together and try to make some sense of this crazy situation. Now, back in November of last year, R&B singer Cassie sued Sean Combs, aka P Diddy, aka Puff Daddy, aka Diddy, for a lot of really messed up things, including physical abuse and sexual abuse. I covered this lawsuit when it was originally filed. That's right, I got all the hot topics, so you might as well just hit subscribe now. If you want the deep dive on that lawsuit, you'll have to go check out those older videos. That case was quickly settled. And by quickly, what I mean is quickly, which as a lawyer, I have to remind you, is not an admission of guilt. But as a person, soon after that lawsuit was settled, which happened very quickly, at least 3 additional lawsuits were filed by other alleged victims. Then in February of this year, yet another lawsuit was filed with very similar accusations against P Diddy, but with a slight twist that the alleged victim was record producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, you know, a dude. All of this litigation is, as far as we know, still ongoing. And while the allegations of those lawsuits are disgusting and horrific, these kinds of lawsuits don't usually lead to multiple home raids by Homeland Security. So what the heck happened? Look, this is America. If it wasn't, how could I have this cool sweatshirt? Exactly. In America, you can pretty much sue anyone for anything at any time. That's why I have this other word on my sweatshirt. But look, that's all civil. And by civil, I mean the government's not a party to the case. They're not trying to punish someone. In criminal cases, some aspect of the government, whether it's like a city or municipality or a county or a state or even the US government, or heaven forbid you live in Louisiana and it's the parish, which actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure that's just the French word for county. But some aspect of the government says that you broke a criminal law and they bring charges against you. They want to fine you, or worse yet, take away your liberty, which of course is just the French word for freedom. And of course, the criminal justice system is a way different system than the regular justice system where you and I can sue each other. I mean, ooh, not you and I, gee whiz. Unless you don't subscribe, in which case, I'm getting my lawsuit ready. In criminal court, there's a presumption of innocence and a really high burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But in civil court, the burden of proof is just one hair past 50-50, aka more likely than not. And there's no presumption about anything. And civil litigants can't call in law enforcement to do a search or a seizure or an arrest or anything remotely like that. In civil cases, if you want evidence, there are rules that say that the other party has to give it to you. Or you can use like a subpoena to ask a third party for it. But I mean, the system only works because it's a game that civilized people agree to play together. You can't just crash somebody's place and take stuff. Okay, so now that you know that, and you know that Sean Combs' house was what's that mean? Well, the raids are unrelated to the allegations of his abuse of the people in the civil cases because, to be blunt, the government doesn't care about that stuff. On the other hand, if there's a pattern of abuse and the government has a theory that he was or is involved in some sort of sex trafficking ring, it wouldn't be completely fair to say that the raids are completely unrelated to the civil litigation. I mean, they are unrelated to the legal claims in the civil cases, but all of those cases may have some sort of connection around the thing that he is being criminally investigated for, which he is definitely being criminally investigated for. According to multiple news sources, the searches were conducted in relation to an ongoing sex trafficking investigation in New York. And apparently Homeland Security hasn't confirmed or denied whether the searches were connected to the multitude of lawsuits that P. Diddy is facing. But NBC News has cited an unnamed source as saying that 3 women and a man were interviewed by the feds, and more interviews were scheduled to take place concerning sex trafficking, sexual assault, and the solicitation and distribution of illegal narcotics and firearm allegations. So we have an unnamed source, but we also have something called common freaking sense. And very clearly, Diddy was way up to no good. And the reason they raid like that is for fear of loss of evidence. They think there are videos or other physical evidence that would corroborate the stories of the abuse from the victims or potential weapons charges or drug possession if the stuff is still there. This is not a stretch. This is like an uncontested layup. The raid itself took social media by storm, with many noticing that Diddy's private jet was in the Caribbean. Or is it the Caribbean? Caribbean. I like Caribbean. Which led to conspiracy theories left and right. And everyone was convinced that he was fleeing. No, I wasn't. Maybe you were. I don't know. It has now been confirmed, however, that Diddy was not aboard the private jet, and his lawyers have put out a statement claiming that Mr. Combs was never detained, but spoke to and cooperated with authorities. So far, it's been revealed that some firearms were found in the raid and some electronic devices were seized. What was on those devices has not been made public knowledge. A raid like that, actually, raids like these, because remember, there were two, is always preceded by the filing of an affidavit by a law enforcement officer under seal with a court in the jurisdiction where the evidence is presumed to be. Law enforcement has to tell a narrative under oath that convinces a judge that there is a probability of recovery of the type of evidence specified in the affidavit, and if the judge is convinced, he or she will issue a warrant detailing where and how, and actually when they can go look for and take the evidence that they want. Those warrants are always under seal at the time they're filed with the court, and they are typically only unsealed if a defendant is charged and then arraigned on his charges. What that means in this situation is that if they never charge Combs or someone else in connection with the search, there's a chance we will never know what the law enforcement officer or officers told the judge in order to get the warrant or warrants that allowed those raids. So that's pretty much Search Warrants 101, people. Remember, not only has Diddy not been convicted, but actually, he hasn't even been charged. He is right now just as innocent as you or I am. Except that money, except all that money that he paid Cassie. And those other cases, the facts are pretty similar. I mean, those allegations are pretty similar. But for now, he is presumed innocent. I mean, I wouldn't send my daughter to his house. I'm happy to presume him innocent, but I'm not gonna stick my head up my... What do you think will be found on the devices that they recovered? Do you think the raid is connected to the allegations from the multiple lawsuits? Would you be willing to drop your pro se opinion down below and let me know what you think? More information will be released as the investigation continues, so if you want to keep hearing this lawyer's take, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will be back soon. Bye. Don't usually lead to multiple home raids, which I'm really sure, left and right, and evidence was evidence.